Hindu nationalism has interiorized the European paradigms to quite an extent, as is visible by its uniform. It was a British uniform, first used by the guards of the Congress gathering in 1925. This was after the Mopla rebellion, when Hindus were being attacked. Muslims saw Congress as a Hindu organization, even though Congress did its best to showcase a few token Muslims, even paying them to attend the conference. But so, you see, they thought it was necessary to have an order service. And so that is part of the genesis of the RSS. And so they had British-inspired uniforms. That's why they are still called the Knickerwallas. And this year, it so happens that they have replaced the knickers with another Western uniform, namely trousers. And they have brass bands. There were no brass bands at the time of Abhinavagupta. So again, you see, this is a European import. Now, again, I don't mind, you see, you decide yourselves what you want for music, but I just notice it as odd that a nationalist organization is so foreign-oriented. But, let that pass. I think that is just a visible detail. But, what gives better away the wrong-headedness of the nationalist paradigm is the following. There is in the Hindu nationalist movement a faction that is working hard on Ghar Wapasi. Ghar Wapasi means to return home. Now, this homecoming means the homecoming of people who have been estranged from Hinduism by conversion, mainly to Christianity, so that they are reconverted to Hinduism. Either it is a personal reconversion in the sense that they still have a living memory of Hinduism, of being part of that, or it is a reconversion in an extended sense because their ancestors have converted to Christianity. And maybe they have never even known anything else than Christianity. But so somehow, sometimes it happens that even those people are willing to convert to Hinduism on condition that, they are sufficiently prepared and put in a mood to do that. And so some Hindu activists specialize in creating the circumstances that might trigger such a Ghar Wapasi, such a conversion or reconversion of Christians to Hinduism. Okay, I'm all for that. You see, Ghar Wapasi has my blessings if anyone is concerned. But in discussions about Ghar Wapasi, I hear these activists say all the time, Christianity entails, or Christianization entails westernization. This is partly true, particularly among Protestants. American Protestants typically Americanize their converts. You see, instead of using Indian musical instruments in Mass, they start playing guitars or, other Western instruments. Often they adopt English as their language. Like in Nagaland, English is the official language. And so, clothing, names, and so on, their, evangelical missions do bring about quite a bit of westernization. The Catholic missions have mainly adopted a different strategy, which they call inculturation. This means that many of these priests dress up as sannyasins, orange-clad. Their churches have all kinds of ornaments in the spirit of Hindu temples. They somehow unite the cross with the Om sign. They give paintings of Jesus or of the Virgin Mary the characteristics of the local population, which is not so strange. You see, in Europe, in medieval paintings, you see Jesus as an Italian, as a German, whatever was, you see the nationality of the painter. So it is normal to adopt. I mean, it has a tradition behind it. And in a way, you see, European Christianity also has been enculturated, because at the time, there was a big distance between Europe and the Middle East where Christianity originated. And so, as Christianity traveled west and north, it also adapted itself, took over customs from the natives as long as they accepted Christ. And so, this is exactly what they're doing in India. Also, they are now printing Bibles in which they include some verses from the Upanishads and so on. Just like in the West, Christianity adopted certain elements from Greek philosophy. And they presented Greek philosophy as a preparation that is being fulfilled, that is being completed by the acceptance of Christ. So, in their view, paganism was not all bad, but it missed something. And so the one thing that completes it is Christ. And so this is exactly what they're saying in India. They say, don't be too harsh on yourself, you're all right, except you need Christ. Please come here and, get baptized. And often you see they can retain all kinds of cultural elements. Nowadays they also retain their Hindu names, which of course has also another aspect, which is to get around reservation arrangements. In the 1930s, when the British enacted reservations, or when they at least enacted a special status for scheduled tribes and scheduled castes, the Christians themselves insisted they had no caste, therefore they did not want caste reservations. If a Dalit converts to Christianity, he ceases to enjoy Dalit reservations. That's not imposed on the Christians as they now claim in the West. You see, that is a proposal by the Christians themselves. Okay? Anyway, now they try to get around it, not to change that arrangement in law, but by simply pretending to be Hindus whenever, some civil servant comes by on whose decision these reservations depend. And so they retain their Hindu names for that reason. But anyway, it's not only for that reason. You can't blame them for cheating, not too much at least. To quite an extent, they say, well, the essence is that they accept Christ. The other things, well, it's like the Germanic converts. They retain Germanic names for some generations. And then around the year 1100, they started adopting evangelical names. Mark, Luke, Peter, and so on. So this is what they expect in India too. You see, the missionaries have a very long-term vision. And so they accept a certain compromise for the first generation of converts. Now, you see, all these intricacies are not well understood by the Hindu movement. And so in those cases, Christianization does not entail westernization. Also, of course, there is the fact that Hindus themselves undergo quite a few instances of voluntary westernization. The clothes you are wearing. You see, there is a big Americanization going on as we speak. And in fact, much of it patronized by the party in power, by the BJP. So, this westernization is just not the point. You see, if you want people to reconvert to Hinduism, then say, we want you to be Hindu, we don't want you to be Christian. Do not bring in these cultural, subordinate aspects, this Western, coloring. That has nothing to do with it. You see, Christians, you know, they haven't even reached the end of it. You know, they can fully enculturate, you know, fully Christianized without being westernized. So, you know, if westernization is what you're against, then go start doing something about that, starting with the Hindus who are getting westernized. And, you know, don't worry about Christianization. However, you know, those who are not nationalists but who are Hindus, they of course militate against Christianization. They oppose Christianization because they think it is wrong, because it is better to be a Hindu than to be a Christian, because as a believing Christian, you are never going to reach moksha. As a believing Hindu, you might. As a believing Christian, you are not going to participate, at least not wholeheartedly, in celebrations of Diwali or Holi and so on. As a Hindu, yes. You know, if religion is what you care about, then Ghar Wapasi makes sense. But if nationality is what you care about, then drop it. So here again you see the Hindu nationalist movement has to decide, is it nation we are concerned about or is it Hinduism we are concerned about? And don't take the easy way out by saying, but the two are the same for us. The two are not the same. What do you do with all these Hindus in America, for example? You see, if you would accept the nationalist paradigm, then what all those Hindus in America should do is to become Christians. And in fact, many Chinese and Koreans who migrate to America, the first thing they do when they land in San Francisco is to become Protestants. Because they think that is the thing to do to be a real American. So that is what you should want Hindus to do. Now, when I heard the Sarsanga Chalak, I was at some function in Los Angeles, I think, California at any rate, where Raju Bhaya was speaking. He was then the Sarsanga Chalak, the leader of the RSS. And so he was asked by the audience, you see, what should a Hindu in America do? And he said, well, it is very simple. As soon as you go outside, you are an American. And as soon as you enter your house, you become a Hindu. Well, you know, so it means you do not integrate. You integrate to the extent that you don't cause trouble to your host society. However, you retain a separate identity. Now, I don't mind that. You know, I don't mind Italians behind their house door speaking Italian, you know, as it used to be. And so, I mean, I don't mind the Russian Jews who migrated to America 120 years ago. I don't mind them remaining Jews and keep on speaking Yiddish and so on, as they did. But, you know, you have to choose, you know. If you accept this, then you can also accept that Christians remain Christians even when living in India. Then you accept that nationhood and religion are two different things. And I mean, that is what makes sense. That is how the world effectively functions. And to be up in arms against that, as the Hindu nationalists are, is a dead-end street. You know, this is going nowhere. This is neither here nor there. So if the Hindu movement wants to become more effective, it should drop these things that don't work.